Rspec, what is it, right? So it is a language that's used to test Ruby. So you write tests in Rspec to test Ruby, and it's like you hear all these words TDD, BDD, right? What are they like? So TDD stands for test-driven development, which means that first you write your test and you have your test like fail and use that as a guideline to actually write your code. So that's called test-driven development. And Rspec is the testing language for Ruby, and people use Cucumber. That's for more like an integration level test for Ruby. So right now I'm going to talk about Rspec today. And BDD stands for behavior-driven development. So it's like you test the behavior of your application. So people use it interchangeably, those two terminologies. So I felt like it's good to know. So, and there's something called Spec Helper you normally require in all your Rspec tests. So Spec Helper is just a library that will make all the Rspec magic happen for you. So, so that's the introduction of Rspec. So if you come to the syntax, so in Rspec world, people don't call it as a test, they call it as an example. So a test is an example, and it's like, I think the name came from like, it's an example to guide you to write the code. So instead of calling it a test, they call it as an example. So in Rspec, you see a bunch of describe blocks and if statements. So what does all of that mean? So describe. So you group a bunch of examples together into a describe block, and then so each example is specified by the if statement. So I put together a piece of code out there. Just this is like the syntax people follow. So you like if you're writing tests for a class, you have the class name in the describe and the top level describe block, and then you have various methods up there, which is around this syntax describe method, and then you have examples related to that. Like you can have multiple examples inside the describe block. So so that's regarding the introduction of what a describe is and what it is. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to go over a light example. So let me go over a light example here. So if you, so we will be creating like an account class which is like your bank account, which has just an opening balance method. So I'm going to create an account spec because it's test-driven development. I will write this spec first, which is the test. So here I'm in the text editor. I say hey require spec helper. So this is the thing that you require, and then you say describe. Describe. I would say I'm going to describe my account class, and I'm going to have a method named opening balance in it. So it would say opening balance. So this is how you write like specs and how you do test-driven development. First you write your specs and then you write the code. Okay, then I say, hey, it has, this thing that you're going to put in the string. It can be anything. It just helps you on go through, understand the example. So it has a method named opening balance to end. So now that we have the structure of our test, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to instantiate the account class, which is done by account.io. also adjust the name of the test, or like right now we should not call it test, it's an example. So I'm going to adjust the name of the example. So it has a method named, like it should have an opening balance of 0 or something. So we should have opening balance of 0. Awesome. So in order for this to work, I also have to require the class that I'm going to create, which is required. Okay, so this is my first test. So now I come out of the spec folder and I run my test. I'm going to see a bunch of errors because I don't have this, like the spec or the class here. In this case, hey, I got all these errors. So the first line says undefined method required related. This is a bummer. Okay, why is this required related not working now? Work on my computer. Now what? So this is the process. You run the spec, you see the error, and then you go write your code. So right now the error says no such file to
It
load.
wasn't like the requires.
Yeah, so there's no file to load. Huh?
It wasn't like the requires.
Yeah. So I think there's no file to load, which does make sense because I don't have account class yet. So I'm gonna create the class here. So I am gonna create class account. Then I just have the empty structure there. So now, okay, now what is the error? So this is how you actually code. Like looking at the errors and fixing it. I don't know if I'm gonna fix it. What is this now? But the whole concept is that you write the specs first and then you execute the code to actually make it work. So I'm gonna go cheat and look in my GitHub and see what's the syntax of the required thing. Please go there. Oh, that's what I actually put in there. Anyway, so that's like how you write tests and you run the code. It's supposed to work. Something is probably there's some libraries that needs to be loaded up there. So let's go back to our presentation, which is this thing. So in Rspec, once you have your describe and lit, you can actually code most of your tests with these things. Some of the things, additional things that you need to know are like the before each block statement that will execute like the code in the before each, like for every example. So you use before each so that you don't duplicate the same code in each example. And then there's another keyword named let, which lets you actually define a block of code and assign a method into it. Then the presentation is not going forward. Okay, nice. So Rspec expectations. So if you have noticed up there, I have here I have like, hey, account.opening balance.should. So this should gets converted into some code in Rspec and it actually executes this like this whole statement into like it should be true kind of thing. So so should and should not are keywords in the Rspec expectation framework that we use very much. And then some of the examples that I have here are like the actual value dot should equals expected value. It's like result dot should equals 0, something like that you can put in there, and actual dot should not equals expected. So while preparing this presentation, I was looking at the Rspec docs, and I noticed that apparently Rspec doesn't is not gonna be happy if you do actual dot should and then there's this not equal to operator, right? Everyone knows about the not equal to operator, right? So seems like Rspec will be happy only with the should not and not like not equal to thing. So that's a good takeaway from this. And then so there's additional functions here which are like result should. It accomplishes the same thing that this equal to operator does, but it's just in a more verbose way. Then there's other stuff here like include item, which I can show an example of it if I come in this code. Because this doesn't work, required in this scenario. So you can say 1, 2, 3 dot should include. Am I running out of the time? Okay. So I'm just saying here, hey, I have an array which is 1, 2, 3 and dot should. It should include this item named 3, and then I'm going to delete that. It's going to come in. So now I'm going to run this test and it should pass these tests. Okay, that's because the account is not there. So